All right, Matt, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is Matt Harbour. He's going to do a demonstration. He's in the near freezing climate of Detroit.
Below freezing.
Below
Okay.
freezing, pardon me.
That's all right.
What do
um,
we got tonight?
all right. Tonight, you asked me last week to show me how I do show how I do the Celtic knotwork on the pieces. So um, let me switch to show this here. This every piece in this presentation is something I've done. Um, so the Celtic knotwork around the rim is technically called a braid, but it's also a Celtic knot. And the one in the middle is also a Celtic knot. And this is all done with pyrography, with wood burning. Um, and let's see here. So these are pieces. These are all pieces I've done. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. Example number one is done on the top of a vase, a hollow form, and I used gold acrylic paint in between it after I burned it. Item number two is done on a piece of poplar. This is my own design. I wanted to do something that was in 4 ways. And basically what you're doing is you're filling space. You define a space, you decide how you want to fill it, and you fill it. And the Celtic knotwork is geometric, but you can expand it to fill the existing space. So item number 3 shows a braid on the rim of a bowl. One of the things that I do a lot is I get information from other places. So the folks who do Celtic tattoos do really great shading. So I've tried to learn from how the tattoo folks do their Celtic artwork and learn the shading from how they do it. Item number 4 is a piece of cottonwood. This is both burned and carved. The knot on the bottom is carved. I wanted to prove to myself that I could make something nice out of cottonwood. There was a lot of sanding involved, but it does burn and carve easily. Okay, this book is my go-to reference book. I love this book. The example page in there, I've got both these images off of the net. Celtic Art, The Methods of Construction by George Bain. It covers a whole ton of things, at least 5 different ways, including zoomorphics, which is people and animals, and the key patterns and the spirals, and all sorts of different ways and variations of how to make one thing into another. It's a fascinating book, and it's got all kinds of ideas. Any questions so far?
I'm all right. I'm just following along.
All right. Now, when you're doing this, okay, again, you're looking at this from a spacing perspective, okay? So the blue line is the design needs to fill the appropriate space. So I have made a space on the rim of my bowl, or a plate, or whatever, a platter, and I am going to fill that space. So I have to keep in mind how big the space is that I'm filling. So now a couple things to look at in this. Note that the threads are below inside space. So when you lay drawing around the grid dots. So item number 2 here is the red dots. And that is basically drawn on a center line. And this is what I use the lathe index for, or an index wheel, or a grid pattern that's drawn out on compass points or protractor points. You know, i.e., you draw one out where you've got a line every 10 degrees, and you lay it out on your pattern on your plate and do it that way. But basically, it's on the center line. So I lay out the red dots, and then I add the secondary dots. These are the yellow dots. Okay. Now note that the threads are drawn around the dots. So you can lay this grid work out, and it doesn't have to be ordered like this if you're filling an unusual space with Celtic knotwork. As long as you've laid out your grid work and expanded it, you can draw the threads and the knotwork around the dots. And that's the real key to doing right. Item number 4 here, design thread around the grid data, the grid dots. Okay. a cherry platter here. It's on my lathe. Let me expand this out a little bit. I want to point out my lathe has an index, but I am using the Flute Master index wheel, and it has this. You can't really see it very well. Let me try this. When I got this, I thought it would be a little flimsy. Okay, and so it's got this aluminum deal here that hooks up to your lathe bed, and there's a little tightener there and a little pin and the plastic disc. This is really a great tool. I like it better than my lathe indexer. It's easy for me to understand, and it's very fast. So I highly recommend that. Sorry for the endorsement, Eddie.
I have one, a similar item made by another company. I love it.
Yeah, and they make aluminum wheels that, you know, if I hit the Lao or something, I'll hit one of those because I think that would probably be better. But I really like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tool around my pencil, and I'm going to get on the center between my and that's going to be, that line is where I'm going to draw my red dots. So if I switch back to this view, the red dots are all going to be on this line, okay? So, and I'm going to do these with a Sharpie so you all can see the dots.
The same color?
Yeah. Black.
Okay.
That's what I got,
confuse us, man.
Okay, so on my indexer, I'm going to go every 2 dots, but so there's one there.
Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to explain that the index not locked into 16, 8. They're all on there.
Yeah, this has got 4 separate lines of indexers. And the inner one is 14, so you could do 14 and 7, and there's one that's 36, and you can do any multiple of that, and there's one that's 48, and you can do that, and so there's all kinds of options.
You don't have to do the 48. Yeah, you're correct. You can split it into 8s or 6s if you want.
So I'm on the 48 wheel here, and I'm doing every one, so I'm doing 24 of them.
Hey, Matt, do you normally use Sharpies or you use a pencil?
I usually do this in pencil, okay? This is some demonstration piece I got on the lathe. This is probably the 4th demonstration I've done using this piece of wood. It gets smaller every time.
Because Paul Barnes' age, we had to use a bear mark.
Wait, what?
It's so you can see them.
Nothing, Paul. Don't worry about it, Doug.
Oh, okay.
He's besmirching your eyesight, Doug. Now, when I first started doing this, I was laying out the grid patterns. I literally had a piece of paper and a protractor, and I drew them out in the protractor, and I did them on on a protractor. If you all know what that is. All right, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to freehand the next ones. Now, what I want to make sure I do is I leave room. Let me switch to this view again. Now I'm going to lay out the yellow dots, okay? And I want to make sure that I leave room between the dot I lay out and the rim, the edge of my space, okay? So that there's room for the thread. So I'm going to lay it out like right there. Okay, you guys see that?
Gotcha.
So I'm laying it out here. So I've got, and I'm halfway between these two, and you could be more precise with this if you wanted to.
You could use your indexer and go 1 spot. I mean, 2 spots again, just go 1 spot off.
Yep, but that's a lot of work, and this is faster.
Thank you.
Okay, now. There's a bunch of variations. I won't go the whole way around, but there's a bunch of variations that you can do. Let me switch back to this view again and show this. So if you see where that blue line is on the left side, where the turquoise line is, see how there's two lines there between the middle section, the short middle section?
Yes.
That's the first one I lay out. So I lay it out here like this. Okay? Now the rest of them are all going to be the same way. And I'm laying it out between the dots. Okay? Now, the next one is going around the dots, so like that. And they're connecting. And at this point, you can start to connect them, okay, to the next one. And if I'm wood burning, when I lay it out in pencil, I will probably correct it when I lay it out, when I actually do the burning. So, because you want the lines to be continuous as they go underneath the thread, so you've got the illusion of it, okay? And then you draw the last one, okay? And this is why you do it in pencil, because your lines will change, and you're basically connecting the lines.
Okay, I don't have that rest y'all, but I'm getting seasick.
And then you fill in the black stuff in between. And that's how you do the Celtic knotwork on a bowl rim. And if you look at this piece here that I show, one of the things you'll notice is every third one, they're broken. You see that? If you look closely at the design, there's a variation in there. Okay? I don't know if y'all can see that. The first break occurs in the middle between the two yellow dots and the two red dots after the blue line on the left. Okay? There's a break, and then there's two of the lines, you know, across the middle, and then there's another break, and so on. So you can break these patterns up and keep changing them. You know, this is a straight braid with none of those funky breaks. But when you do something like this, you can break it in, you know, every third set there's a break in between where you add a variation. And then you add a little bit of shading like the tattoo guys do. Let me see here. That's what I wanted.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
At first, you were losing me, and then all of a sudden, it popped in, and you make it look so easy.
Well, I've done a lot of these. Okay, to be fair, okay, I've done a lot of these, and so it's second nature to me to do them. However, it's repeatable, and you know, watching this video, you can see how it happened. Okay, once you understand how the designs are laid out between the dots, okay, then you can make it happen. And you know, sometimes I've got to look at a reference, like I open that book and I look for the reference for something I want, and I look and make sure that I'm getting the right breaks in the right places if that's what I want to do, and so on. So it doesn't hurt to look at a reference.
Hey, Matt, why do you want to break? Is that just to break the pattern up?
Yeah, you're adding a variation instead of just being a straight braid. Let me go back to this one here. Instead of just adding a straight braid, you're adding a break. Okay, and if you look at, let me go back to this image here of my own pieces.
I can see the three separate like rings or whatever.
The vase has got a straight braid on it, but the one on the lower left, the Cottonwood Vase, has got a straight braid on it, but the one on the upper left has got the breaks in it. Okay, and so does the bowl number 3 along the rim. And then I've done something different, even more different on the piece number 2. So there's and you know, if you look at the example page in the book here, it shows a bunch of different ways. I mean, this is just one small section, and this book is like bunches of pages like this. You know, you can see how you take one step and you add a break here, you add a design here, you add a line here, you change things. There's hundreds of different ways to do this and lots of different variations. So
Yeah, I like the breaks. Breaks look good.
yeah, it adds a you know, character to the piece. It adds you know, there's like I said, there's a ton of ways to do this. So you know, you're limited by your imagination. And I mean, I basically got into wood turning because I had a Celtic art obsession, and I had some good designs in the round. And I was like, I walked into a hobby store and said, you know, I'm looking for some things that I could paint my round designs on, and looked at what they had and said, boy, this stuff is junk. I can make stuff better than this. And at that point I started researching wood lathes. So that's how I started.
Well, Jack Jecker in Victoria, Texas, just posted on chat. Hey, he did a little Google search and he found some patterns, and those links are on our chat right now. I cheated when I did mine. I went to Google and typed in Celtic Knot sketch, and then I blew them up to fit the piece. It didn't work as nice because proportionally it fell apart.
Well, the beauty of using the grid system to lay it out is, and using an indexer, is you can fill any space. You don't have to resize things perfectly. You don't have to, you know, just sort of, you know, manipulate it so it fits. If you understand how the grid patterns work and how you know, you go over and you go under and you go over and you go under, and that and you create, you know, you start getting into the zoomorphics where you're doing people and animals and trees and stuff. That's just so cool. So
when I did mine, I had to take the piece I used as a template and color it with a marker, because I kept crossing up what was what and what, you know, because it's 3 strands. It's
yeah.
Those 3 strands goes under, and you know.
Yeah, the bottom line is if it went over last time, it goes under this time.
Okay, that's like lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay.
Yeah, you just look back to see if the last time it ran into a strand, it was on top. Now it goes underneath, and if the last time it went underneath, this time it goes on top.
Right.
Could we
What else
get,
we got questions from Matt?
yeah, could we get an address on where we get this indexer wheel?
I think is it flutemaster.com? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Master.
Anybody else jump in with that? Mine came from
Yeah,
this
is that a
one-
blue one you got?
this-
The Asylum?
It wasn't flood.
I don't know if you can see mine, but one of the guys in our club has a CNC machine and he makes them there for everyone.
Hold on, Johnny. I'm going to go there. Say again, Johnny.
I said one of the guys in our club has a CNC machine and he makes them for everybody out of the cardboard, I guess you call it. And that's what that is. And he can put as many holes in there as you want. This
That's
one, I
nice.
think.
It sounds magical. I need a guy like that at my club.
Yeah, he's made them for a bunch of us there, and they go 8, 14, 36, 48, 60, and even 80 if you wanted to do it there. But and it's just made out of hardboard. So
I'll be nice. He can join my club without having to pay an admission fee. You know.
yeah, I'll have to tell him about that.
Oh, I'm on mute.
Yeah, this one has 4 sets of patterns, 4 and it was to combine 2. I either I'll synchronize them at 2 points. I'll put the link in here. Yeah, Bob already got it. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, there's a lot of options, so it's a real useful tool.
Yeah, he made this one with 6 rings in it, so it's got a lot of different
Wow.
patterns there. So,
I know folks use them for doing the basket weave illusion pieces.
That's why I use mine for it. So it's got 96 or whatever.
144, 172, yeah.
Yeah, and with you fix the straight edge next to your piece, and because if your bowl's curved, you can just cut your straight edge out of a curved piece, mount it up on your tool. It makes it easier.
Yep, it makes it repeatable, makes it doable.
yeah, I've used mine for fluting bowls there and for doing the fluting on them. It works pretty good.
There you go. Any questions on the Celtic Knot?
Yeah, I want to use to burn the design.
I have a wood burner. It's mine is a nibs burner, but nibs burner is not making them anymore. They went out of business. It's akin to a razor tip. About half the stuff I have is razor tip, so it's a razor tip wood burner. I draw the lines with a skew, so, and then I shade with the basic shading tip. I do almost all the wood burning I do with just with the skew and the shading tip.
That's a skew tip for the burner.
Yeah, skew tip for the burner, right?
Because get some new turners say, "Wow, how do you do it with a skew?"
So all these lines are done, and the skew makes it easy to draw the straight lines, like in piece number 2 here. I basically drew 4 lines perpendicular to each other, and then they're like 30 degrees apart. So that's how I did that one. And the skew makes it real easy to draw a straight line.
And that looks like such a complex design.
This was fun. It was a lot of fun
Matt,
to do.
Matt, tell us
Yes,
how
sir. The piece in the upper left, number 1, that's done with an acrylic paint pen, gold metallic acrylic paint pen. Sharpie makes them, and other people make some that are better. So there's a lot of things. If y'all want to see some interesting stuff, no, I can't do that yet. I'm sorry, I don't have those pictures available. On my Facebook page, I've got all kinds of stuff in my pictures. You can color these with paints. You can color them with colored pencils. You can color them with all kinds of different things. You can color them with India ink. There's a lot of different things you can do.
A lot of times you got to give up your normal source of markers and stuff and hit an actual art store. Yep. And bring a sample of what you're doing or something similar, and let them. They'll show you how the parts and pieces they have or the conditions they have will work. That's how I got into some shading with a part one time. The lady said, "That's not what you want. It's the right color, but that's not what you want."
Hey, Matt.
It really helped.
Yes, sir.
So you're basically finishing, you're sanding your piece out, and then you're starting to do this, right?
Yes. Lay it out. I always lay it out with pencil. If I've got some strange design that I want to do, yeah, let me see this one here. Let me go back to this. This design here, the design in the center. I did that with the graph paper. Okay. Carbon paper or whatever, graphite paper, that's what I think it was I used. So I printed the design out on a piece of paper. I taped it all down, and I went over it, I traced it out, and then I had some mistakes in my design on the paper, so I had to fix it on the fly with the wood burner while I was doing exactly what I told you I was doing, Eddie. Where this isn't right. It went under last time. It should go over this time.
I see that.
So, but I eventually got it all correct. But this was a lot of fun too. I actually did part of this piece in a wood burning demo years ago for my own club. but it's a good
It's a pretty
example.
piece.
So this was done in
Nice work,
several
Matt.
stages. So thank you.
I've got a,
But you know, like I say, you can fill any space with Celtic Knotwork, and you can find examples where people fill spaces and where they wrap things around, you know, around things, you know, like dragons and this piece here, this piece number 4 here, the Cottonwood Vase. The way I wrapped the knotwork around in that space was designed to show that could be done that way. It narrows at the top and narrows at the bottom and comes to points, and it's you know.
If you want to lay that out, if you get a roll of tape for an adding machine, the right width, that could be the piece you tape down to do your outside lines and shove it down for your centers and the other marks.
Yeah, I actually carved this the space, the black space between the knotwork and the rest of the vase. That's a groove. It's carved.
Oh,
So the Celtic Knotwork is basically on top of the stuff, you know, the raised section between the two groove lines.
looks like an applied embellishment.
Like a county road in between two ditches.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly right.
Come on. Well, I think it's beautiful work, and I appreciate it. And I want to see if really here's the deal. We want to see what you have this entire membership. What do you have like this, or can you contribute to it, or add? I said contribute, but add accent to it. The Manchester said he carved that part in. That's pretty cool. Now, how'd you carve it, Matt? Let me ask you that.
Geez, that was a couple years ago. I'm sure I use power tools.
Okay.
I'm sure I have a micromotor, but you could do that with a Dremel. So
Yeah,
you just lay out the line and then carve it. You could do it with a hand tool if you wanted a couch, whatever the things.
Yeah, I've got some round tip burrs for doing that because when you get done, it looks like it was carved rather than ground, which is a nice point.
Yeah, I have a reciprocating carver too, a handpiece that goes on a Dremel, which uses these flex cut bits, which is really, it's very, very useful. It's like power. It's actually like carving with power. You know, it's a lot more easier than doing it by hand, but it's a lot like hand carving with, you know, only you're using power.
I've got one at the big box stores sold years ago, but I can't find any cutters, and my cutters are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Any other questions for Matt tonight, folks?
I got a indexing system that I use that, I don't know, can y'all see me?
Yes,
I
sir.
got you, Bob.
Okay. I use this, it's a wheel I got from VM Woodworking. And I made I took the tool magnet, you know, that goes on the wall from Harbor Freight.
Mhm.
And I put that on my lathe and I put a board on it and a bolt and use that for my indexing.
Huh.
So this sits on the lathe like this, lathe bed. And so a bolt goes in the holes in the indexing type wheel. That
Yeah,
works
good idea.
well for me.
That's great.
Very cool.
I like the magnet idea. That's nice.
Bob,
And you
where
just
did
take it and put it on there and then just tilt it back and it
Yeah.
stays in position.
Yeah, I
Bob,
like-
where did you get the wheel?
It's VM Woodworking. I put it in the chat.